I'm Lawrence Edwards and I'm working for Southwarkartsforum, and we're here at the Tower Bridge Ending Room exhibition.
Hi, I'm Vervain. I'm one of the artists whose work's being exhibited here for these 3 months.
Where are you from and how did you get started in this field?
Well, originally I was born in London, and then my parents moved out of London, and they just kept moving. And when I was an adult, I decided to move back into London because I love London. How did I start? I think I started, according to my mother, when I was about as soon as I could crawl across the lawn, and I'd be arranging where they lived. I'd be arranging flower petals and seeds and things. And the next door neighbour was a primary school teacher, and she used to say, I wish I could get my kids to do what I was naturally doing. So I think I was just sort of born making designs and playing with materials. I think I love handling materials and making things.
So what age would you say you first discovered your creative talents?
I think I've just always created one way or another, and if it's something, making something positive, if I couldn't do that, then I would feel creating, being a nuisance or something. So I think doing something, making something, putting my energies to some constructive uses has always been a good thing for me, rather than sitting around twiddling my thumbs, which is a bad asking for trouble.
Could you tell us more about some of your work?
The work I'm showing here tonight is the idea of the dancing line. Paul Clay took a line for a walk. I find that the line dances me. So I can't really, and Nash said he couldn't sit still, and that's why he painted. And in some ways, I can't really sit still either. I have to be doing something. I have to be moving. I always like work that actually suggests movement to me. I don't like things that are sort of static. And so that's what I'm exploring in this work is the dancing line. There's also a kind of darker, mysterious quality about it too. And the idea of the line, the idea of linking things that connect, strange connections. That
you're saying it was about the city and London, and
yes.
Could you elaborate on that?
Well, when my parents moved out of London, and we lived various cities around, various towns around London, they were always sort of coming back, and we'd be emerging from a tube, and I'd see us say like a bit around the National Gallery or a bit around somewhere else. And so when I became an adult and I was a student in London, I just wanted to link up all the places I just knew, just little bits. So I cycled and I walked, and just as everywhere I could cycle and walk, in the back streets and along the river, and just trying to create a map in my. I've got a very map-like mind, a very visual mind, a very spatial mind, and I just wanted to see how everything linked together, and the river as well. I mean, it's extraordinary the way it sort of meanders around, so that it's strange linkages. You're in one place, and if you follow the river, you take a long route to get somewhere else. Whereas if you go straight across, it's really quite close. It's surprising the way things sort of link up, and London has and had even more when I was a bit younger. Amazing sort of tunnels and things, like there's sort of under the Waterloo, there's some amazing tunnels that you can go down, and you see all these sort of old under the arches and warehouses and things that people have gone to. Some of the streets were common as well, sort of, and there was quite a bit under. Was it near St Paul's? What's that station there? Is it Fenchurch Street? They've closed that one now. I used to cycle down there to get from one part of the city, to Fleet Street area, into the city itself. I just love the city, the old courtyards and little back ways, and surprising. You don't have to go down the main road, busy streets. You just find back ways.
So would you say you were more inspired by the environment? I mean, could you tell us what inspires you? What motivates you to keep designing or creating? Sorry.
The environment, but the fact that it's a peopled environment. I mean, I'm not really that interested in, country scenery and hills, and I love buildings. I love the way buildings interact with trees and people, movement, life. lots of different types of people, lots of different types of lives, all sort of interconnecting, all interweaving. The hustle and bustle, street markets, I find really exciting.
How people move within the different spaces?
Yes, that's right, yes. And I love somewhere like the Tower because it's such an unusual, you find such unusual spaces as well. And I go to a sports club quite close by, and the lady around the sports club was going to go down to her basement to do something. And I said, I'd love to go with you. And she said, well, it's not very interesting. But she showed me this basement area where they had to go and check pipes and check chemicals and things. And I just found it fascinating, the sort of the underground and the unusual shapes of pipes and things. So I'm just excited by the energy of the city and by the unusual, with a city like London, there's modern and old buildings, and the different shapes, the different juxtapositions, the surprising sort of, contrast things that you find.
Could you describe more about your style?
My style is a kind of a very energized, loose, sort of impatient style. At my best, I think I'm just sort of going for it in a very sort of, and letting my whole body, the energy come through my body and inform the line. And then sometimes I might then sort of work over something I've done and firm it up a bit. I was a student of Cecil Collins, the visionary English artist who died in the about 1990, but a lot of his works at the Tate, and he used a lot of movement and music and a lot of very short studies in his work, and a lot of his exercises or his studies were very inspiring, and he would get us, one of the things he'd get us to do would be to cover our paper with scribble, basically, which he called the matrix. That was the feminine, the ultimate feminine was a sort of like a scribbled line, and then you would bring in what he called the masculine line and pull out the form of what you were doing, and I use that sort of idea quite a lot. And there's something else about Cecil. I mean, he really made us think about the sort of the line, the quality of the line that we were putting on the paper. And I was a student of his for about 3 years or 3 or 4 years, and I remember one time after I'd been a student for some time, he brought in some slides of Rembrandt drawings. Yes, we would use line, we would use tone, we would use traditional inks, Chinese inks, Chinese brushes, reed pens, red chalk, and he would get us to use them in an unusual way. So sometimes we had to put the brush in our mouth and we'd have to paint with our mouth. Sometimes we would have to, quite often we'd have to use 2 hands at once. Pencil was another thing. Sometimes he actually got us with an elastic band to hold a brush or a pencil between our toes, and we'd have to sort of draw. And then sometimes he had a huge sort of stick with a brush on the end, and we'd have to sort of paint with that as well. And if you actually look at some of the Chinese illustrations, you can see the artists holding a brush in each hand, a brush in the mouth, and one in each foot, and they're painting. So he was doing a sort of variant of that. So he's been a great inspiration for me. What was I saying about
That kind of leads into the next question as to your approach to design. Because would you say that you always start with that method of building the matrix and then going in with the...
I think in my best work, I just go for it. I mean, sometimes as an exercise, I try and sort of plan things out more and measure, and Cecil was very against measuring things, but sometimes I try and do that. And if I'm not careful, then it goes very sort of rigid on me. So like to, sometimes I do that for a study though, to sort of, you know, bring myself back into the discipline. But usually the best work starts with a very expressive sort of line, and then I might work over and bring the thing back in. And I've recently discovered the joys of the iPad, so I can use my very expressive line, but very easily then go over and bring the discipline back. Whereas if you're sort of working with a pencil or a rubber, then you have to work quite hard on the pencil. Whereas if you're using black and white on the iPad, it's really quite simple to bring something back. Because I think one of the joys of drawing is you can sort of draw your rubber as well as your pencil. When you're using ink, of course, you can't draw with your rubber, so you have to just go with what you've got and bring in different acrylic or something like that. So those pieces that I did there are more kind of expressionist, I suppose, rather than trying to be totally representational. They sort of suggest forms, but they're kind of, some of my work is a bit more representational than the ones I'm showing here.
Could you tell us how you bridge the gap between business and the creative side of art? So when it comes to creating your work, that's one process, but when it comes to actually getting people to come and view your work, how do you go about that?
So I sort of advertise stuff on websites, and also the shows that we have. I was at Wimbledon Art Studio before I came to this one, and we used to have a biannual show, so I'd be showing stuff there and selling stuff there. I haven't got a gallery at the moment who's interested in my work, but I hope that I'm thinking of doing a print series based on the dancing line, which is going to be a bit more representational than this. So I'm hoping that I might interest a gallery.
You might exhibit in the local pub.
And I'm going to have an exhibition in the local pub.
Excellent.
Yes, so this event has been brilliant. I think any more of this sort of thing we could do in the local. I don't know whether Southwark Cathedral would host some of our work. I think this idea of engaging with the local area is a brilliant idea. So I'd love to do more of that.
Something with the borough market, something like that.
Yes.
So because people first can feel that real art is a bit remote from them, but you can show that they can engage. So if you bring the art to the people, particularly in the marketplace.
Could you describe yourself in 5 words?
Working with my passion and impatience. That's more than 5 words.
How does it go?
I work with my passion and impatience.
And lastly, could you give any advice to any aspiring artists?
I think you just have to listen. That's one thing that Cecil Collins taught me, was about listening. You have to listen to what your body is telling you. So you might go to art school and they're telling you to sort of kind of come out of your head, or you've got to do this, you've got to do that. You've really just got to listen to what you're being told. This quieter, this deeper voice is telling you, and then you just have to go with it. It doesn't matter what anyone else says, you've just got to go with how you feel. So if you feel like doing loads of different things, and there are times when I just want to do loads of different things, and you're being told, no, you must focus, if that's what you're being told, your body is telling you it needs to do lots of things, and then that you should go with that. Focus is good as well, but I think first of all you've got to really listen to yourself, and listen to the people around you as well, but yourself first, I think.
Thank you very much. That's very good.
My name's Vervain, and you're watching SAF TV.